When a place is too empty, your mind tries to fill it. Most fears announce themselves. Sirens blare. Flickering lights shiver overhead. But there's a quieter fear. One that lingers in the sterile, the silent, and the unfinished. Blank spaces. Four walls with no story. A screen with nothing to say. A hallway that seems like it could go on forever. What is it? This is Kenophobia, the dread of empty spaces. Today we'll explore the psychology behind it, the architecture that exploits it, and the ways pop culture has turned minimalism into a modern ghost story. Because sometimes the scariest thing a space can do is nothing at all. What is kenophobia? Kenophobia comes from the Greek kenos, meaning void or empty. Unlike claustrophobia, which fears tight confinement, kenophobia fears the opposite, expanses that feel purposeless. Psychologists rarely diagnose it clinically, but cognitive science offers clues. Our brains are prediction machines. We constantly parse patterns, faces in clouds, voices in the wind, meaning in the noise. Now drop us into an environment with too few cues, and the machine keeps running anyway, generating possibilities. That void isn't just blank. It's filled with potential. Good, bad, or even terrifying. Cognitive scientists note that when a setting offers very few affordances, the brain's default mode ramps up. Daydreaming, memory loops, self-talk. In other words, the quieter the room, the louder your inner monologue. If that inner voice is calm, the space feels meditative. If it's anxious, the room becomes an echo chamber of dread. So where do we actually encounter these unsettling gaps? Let's step into the real-world architecture of the in-between. Limonality. A subset of blank space unease is limonality, the experience of being in between. The term comes from the Latin limon, meaning threshold. Anthropologist Victor Turner used it to describe the middle phase of a rite of passage, when you left one role behind but haven't yet assumed the next. Modern life is full of physical versions of this. Waiting rooms, stairwells, terminals, hotel corridors. They're designed for transition, not destination. And when we stay in them too long, something happens. Time stretches. Sounds get louder. Lights feel too bright or too dim. We don't expect to linger in these spaces long. Their architecture is often copy-pasted, modular, bland, anonymous. They exist to be forgotten, which is exactly why we notice them when they're empty. A flickering exit sign, a chair turned slightly wrong, the smell of air conditioning. Spend too long in a liminal hallway and you'll feel it. Reality on pause. The mind asks, why am I still here? You begin to feel like an intruder. Every footstep echoes like you're trespassing somewhere sacred, or even abandoned. It's no wonder these spaces become central to internet horror. The backrooms, no-end house, and countless analog horror projects thrive on the sense of spatial purgatory. In fiction and in life, liminality isn't unsettling because of what's there, but because of what isn't. And that emptiness primes us for the ultimate void. Welcome to the White Cube. The White Cube, a spatial archetype, a void space. 4 bare walls, even light stripped of its color, texture, or time. Originally an art gallery strategy, but now shorthand for deliberate emptiness. Void spaces deny the senses. No textures to anchor perception. No shadows to measure depth. Your brain, desperate for input, starts to project. You become hyper-aware of yourself. Every footstep feels amplified. Every silence, loaded. That's the paradox. These spaces look neutral, yet they're confrontational. They give you nothing, so your mind supplies everything. The white cube logic now spreads everywhere. Sterile tech stores, high-end condos, even VR gray box prototypes. They're not scary for what they contain, but for what they omit. In horror and surreal media, these voids act as thresholds between known and unknown. The emptier the space, the louder the inner voice. If what's inside you is fear, it doesn't stay quiet for long. But emptiness isn't just curated. Sometimes it's engineered, on purpose, to study the mind itself. Take sensory deprivation. Sensory deprivation as a concept began in the 1950s when psychologist Donald Hebb paid students to lie in sound-dampened rooms. Within hours, volunteers reported swirling colors, phantom music, tactile hallucinations. Proof that the brain, starved of input, manufactures its own reality. The effect intensified when neuroscientist John C. Lilly introduced isolation tanks, saltwater chambers sealed from light and sound. Participants lost track of time, drifted into dreamlike states, and sometimes felt their bodies dissolve at the edges. Modern float therapy sells the tank as relaxation, but science is clear. Cut off enough sensory data, and the default mode network takes over. No external distractions, just the loop of inner narrative. For anxious minds, that loop can spiral. Gansfield experiments show similar effects. Red light, white noise, and within minutes subjects hear whispers, see shapes, feel presences. So, a blank space isn't harmless, it's an amplifier. Remove the world and the mind becomes the world. Beautiful, bizarre, or terrifying, depending on what you bring into the tank. And in a digital era, we built brand new tanks. Code-based voids that fit in a browser tab. Digital voids. Blankness isn't confined to physical architecture. It thrives online. A web page flashes pure white before the 404 code appears. For half a second, you're staring into informational nothingness. Early web under construction pages, abandoned forums, empty user avatars, they're digital ghost towns. Game engines start levels as gray box rooms. Clip outside the map and you'll land in software limbo. A dev space never meant for the eyes. Analog horror series like The Backrooms stretch into this infinity. Buzzing fluorescence, yellow wallpaper, no exits. In VR, glitch outside a map and scale collapses. A single step feels cosmic. Researchers warn prolonged exposure can cause derealization. Your brain forgets how big things should be when everything looks the same. Digital voids prove emptiness isn't about physical absence. It's about contextual silence. Strip away narrative, color, and even pixels, and you're left with a haunting void. Yet for some, emptiness isn't menace. It's medicine. Not everyone recoils from emptiness. For minimalists, a blank space is a canvas. Potential energy, not a void. Psychologists call this the restorative environment effect. Spaces low in sensory load can lower cortisol, reset attention fatigue, and encourage mindfulness. In a cluttered world, absence becomes luxury. Japanese aesthetics codify this as ma, the beauty of negative space. Ma isn't emptiness for its own sake. It's the pause that gives surrounding elements room to breathe. Creatives often seek white room environments to prototype ideas. Film director Hayao Miyazaki keeps an intentionally sparse storyboard office. saying empty walls prevent mental noise. The key difference is agency. Chosen emptiness feels like possibility. Imposed emptiness feels like loss. When you decide what enters the space, be it a plant, a painting, or just your thoughts, the void transforms from threatening silence to attentive audience. It's not what a blank room lacks that matters. It's what you invite in. Blank spaces are mirrors. They hand us our own thoughts and ask, is this enough? Sometimes the answer is peace. Other times it's dread. The void itself is neutral. Meaning rushes in from us. So next time you feel that strange twinge walking into an empty room, remember, your brain is hardwired to complete the picture. Maybe it fills it with anxiety, maybe with curiosity. Either way, the blank space is listening. So, what will your mind conjure in the presence of absence? And as always, thank you for watching.